So it's been a while since we did the last Summoner's Road guide. And let me tell you, this one really isn't that bad compared to the other Summoner's Road. If I had to rank them, I would even say that this is a little bit easier in my opinion than even Earth Summoner's Road. But there's some annoying gimmicks that you have to get around to be able to fully clear it, which we'll be covering what all those are in this video. Also, I want to do a quick disclaimer here before we actually get into every single stage. All the teams that I'm going to be talking about and all the units that I'm going to be recommending are going to be the teams and units that I used in order to clear every single stage. Now, if you don't have any of the units or equips that I'm going to be recommending, don't freak out and be like, oh my god, I can't do it. You can always check the past clears to see what other people are using and see if you can possibly copy another team to be able to full clear this event, because there's a lot of teams that are able to beat pretty much all the stages in this fight. Of course, if you cannot clear all the way up to stage 5, don't threat whatsoever. You can always turn back and collect all your rewards that you currently have. So now with all that out of the way, let's actually talk about Fire Summoner's Road. Stage 1. Pretty much like every single other stage 1 that you're going to do in Summoner's Road, no matter what element, you're going to be mainly running a luck team in this situation. The reason we want to run a luck team is because we want to build up the luck bonus gauge so we can eventually use that to get, extra rewards. Stage 2. Now, stage 2 is kind of similar to every other stage 2. Usually this revolves around you doing some type of crazy nuke, whether that be with a dark nuke, earth nuke, whatever you want, you can usually nuke it. And on this specific stage, I would say that's kind of the same, but not entirely. The reason being is because this boss actually has a ton of evasion. Since it's the Emerald Bird. Why is the Emerald Bird in the Fire Summoner's Road? Who knows? If you want to know the nuke team consists of Simon or whatever else. I'll probably put it on screen right now so you can see it. But if you want to know the other team that you can use, which is more of the sustain heavy team, which is what I had to go with because unfortunately I don't have Simon, it revolves around a Juno, a Vox, and kind of something similar to this. And you should be able to clear it within about a minute if you do the sustain way. It's going to be a little bit slower, but hey, it's going to be really easy to get through. Stage 3. Now, Garm has 3 things that you need to know about in order to be able to beat him. 1. If you are inflicted by a burn, you deal no damage to Garm, so make sure you don't get burned. The second one, you need to freeze Garm to increase your damage. And third, you need to break Garm to even deal damage to him. The team that I used was actually a nuke team to beat this, which consists of Est, Emilia, Gray, and New Year's Malim. And these are the equips I used. For this team, it's very simple to beat this fight. In the first stage, we were able to equip nuke. In the second stage, we're able to just pop off with Gray's True Art to give everyone else the 50 art gauge. And then in the final stage, we hope to God that Emilia freezes on her True Art after we pop the freezers down equip, and we're also going to be popping the freeze equip at the same time to try to hold Garm in place. If we get the freeze to go off, then we pop off with Est, we break the boss, we use Gray and New Year's Malim's True Arts, and we blow up Garm to Kingdom Come. Now, if you can't nuke it and you have to sustain it, that's perfectly fine, but I will say, do not use your Haruto or your Mako or your War God Finn if you are planning on going on to stage 4 or even stage 5, because those characters are needed later on. I would actually recommend a team more so along the lines of this, what you see here, to be able to clear stage 2 freely without having to worry about locking very important units. Stage 4. Now, in this stage, there's a few things you need to know before you actually get to Yugetsu. There are ads that spawn, and these ads are able to inflict a burn on you, and burns do stack, so don't get too many burns on you, or else you'll take a lot of dot damage. Also, you will have a mini boss that you'll have to fight in stage 2 that is known as Dargion. Dargion doesn't do anything too crazy, just is able to inflict you a burn, deal some damage to you. Overall, as long as you have a good sustain team, this guy really shouldn't be too much of an issue. And then finally, you get to the one and only Yugetsu. Yugetsu has all the basic boss buffs that we've come to know, like Reflect Resist, Lifesteal Resist, Art Gauge Down Resist, you guys know. But she now has status element resistances, meaning that you cannot inflict her with any kind of status element resist. She also has Demon Killer. She's able to reduce your skill CT by a ton with her own skill, and by reduce, I mean you're not using this thing ever again. Her art is able to recover her own HP. It's really not that noticeable. Her Threshold attack will boost her crit rate. I don't know by how much, but it does boost her crit rate, so you have to be wary of that. And finally, the last thing, this boss needs to be broken in order for you to actually deal damage to it. Every time you break Yugetsu, it increases the amount of damage that you actually are dealing to Yugetsu, so yeah, make sure you bring a breaker. The team that I actually used to tackle this fight was a team that consisted of War God Finn, Haruto, Draken, Satsuki along with these equips here. Satsuki's here because she has a really good slots with the 5-star defense and the 4-star heal, and she is also able to freeze on her true art. Now, if you remember, we cannot freeze Ugetsu, but you can freeze the ads that spawn because Ugetsu will be spawning ads during her boss fight. In terms of why Draken is here so we don't have to break the boss too many times to actually start dealing some major damage. We really only have to break the boss once, and we'll start ramping up our damage quite a bit because Draken is able to reduce the boss's physical res every time he uses his true art. And then for the last two characters, you already know why they're here. As for some of the support items, highly recommend you use something like Kion or a Surface Hunting Knife to buff up your break power even more to help Satsuki break the boss quicker so you don't have to waste as much time on this boss. And in terms of the fight itself, it is very, very simple. Really just play normally throughout all of this. I don't think you're really gonna worry about dying at all through the first few stages. Once you get to Ugetsu, it gets a little bit difficult, but even in this, it's not too bad. Just make sure you have your defense item procced when you need it, and make sure you're constantly cleansing those burns on your characters so you're not racking up tons and tons of dot damage. Stage 5. Stage 5 has mainly two challenges you have to get over. The first one is against the one and only Tyrados. Yep, they finally made him a boss. It took him forever, but he's here, and my god, does he still do some crazy damage. Like, his art will practically almost kill your team if you're not ready for it, and he inflicts you with tons of burns. It's really fun. Apart from that, though, that's all you gotta worry about. He just damage and burns. Now, as for Stage 2, this is against the Dark Ugetsu, and Dark Ugetsu is very similar to that of Fire Ugetsu. She has all the basic boss buffs just like regular Ugetsu, but now she has magic resist and shield killer. Also, she has an art that is able to reduce your maximum HP stat by 1,000 every time it is used, and her threshold attack is known as Chant of Doom. This will boost how much damage you actually take every time you get hit by it. If that wasn't enough, she has the Emmy mechanic that increases her crit rate towards whoever is dealing the most damage. And she has the Genzo mechanic tied into her thresholds, where whenever you get her to her first threshold, she's going to halt or completely faint the rightmost unit, and then she's going to do it at her second threshold, but this time to the leftmost unit. So make sure you're wary of that when you're team building against this fight. Oh, and just like the regular Ugetsu, you have to break her, and she also is lowering your skill CT. So the team to take on this fight was actually a mono-light team of Mako, Lysistina, Emperor, and Marzex, and with these equips here. As you can see, we are actually utilizing the light relics, so we can take the most advantage of actually having increased stats with stuff like Tenkan, but also having as much damage resist as possible with stuff like the Cape of Reincarnation. Not only do we need to make use of the light relics though with this comp, we also need to make use of Sistina's 4-star defense slot. You either need to use Phantom Mask here or Aerial to be able to protect your Emperor, because Emperor with this team comp will be dealing the most damage on the team, meaning he's going to be the one getting targeted for all the crazy crit damage. As for the other items like the support items and stuff, really just use your best AoE archons here and make the most of them. Now, in terms of the fight, what type of tips can I recommend if you're going to be using a team like this? If you are using Emperor, highly recommend that you start popping off with the art on Emperor as soon as you get into the quest. Do not use Emperor's true art at the very beginning. If you do, more than likely you will fail the run because your team is going to die. You need the extra HP that Emperor provides on his art to keep them alive against the first initial assault that Tyrados is going to do. Once you have Mako and Lysistina in their true arts and you're able to get healing from them, then you can alternate into Emperor's true art. If you are using Marzex, he is just here. Use his true art, use his art, get him going in terms of his stacking. Once you have everybody going in the first stage, Tyrados really shouldn't pose too much of a threat. Just make sure to pop your defense equips if you need them, and make sure to use your heal equips if you need them as well. Moving on to the final stage though against Ugetsu, this one, it's about as hard as the stage 4 fight against Ugetsu. The main thing here is that just deal damage, try to break Ugetsu. If you break her, great. You're going to be able to deal crazy amounts of deeps. At the thresholds, make sure that you pop your Cape of Reincarnation and your Phantom Mask, and possibly even your heal items that are on your Marzex and your Mako to try to keep Emperor as healthy as possible. Another thing, do not be scared of using Emperor's art, since the entire goal of this final stage is make sure Emperor lives no matter what. Oh yeah, and one more thing. I know I did say it, but some people may not have realized this, but make sure you do pop your rightmost units equips before they get fainted, like Marzex and stuff, so Emperor has his buffs going. Same thing with Mako. Make sure you do pop off with possibly her true art before she gets fainted, and even using her support item and her heal item so you can have have as much buffs on the team as possible. And that's pretty much it. Just at the thresholds, make sure that you have your defense items up, make sure you have your heal items up, up, make sure that you're using Emperor's Art to keep him healthy, and just keep slowly working down Ugetsu. At the final threshold, she's going to do a major nuke. This major nuke, if it kills Emperor, who cares? It's the end of the fight. She's going to die literally within a singular attack, and there you go. You beat Stage 5 of Fire Summoner's Road. Now, as I stated before in the very beginning of this video, if any of these teams were teams that you weren't able to replicate, always check the past clears, especially on Stage 5. There are tons, and I mean tons of different alterations of the Mono Light team. I've seen people use Lisa. I've seen people use Platina. I've even seen people opt in for a Duke and a 12th generation Mizuki. So there are tons of ways to fight the final fight in this. Just like there's tons of different comps to fight every single one of these stages. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you all found this video informative and entertaining, or the case may be, because this one took me a minute. Usually the guide videos take me a while, which is why we don't get too many of them, just because after I do one, I'm kind of done with doing a guide for like the next 3 weeks. I don't want to do another one. But hey, I know Water Summoner's Road is coming out in a few days, so I may have to get on that one too if I'm able to full clear it. Either way though, that's going to be it for this one, man. Thank you all again for coming out, and last but not least, you guys already know, don't forget to drink water.